the 20 oldest fast food chains in America. Fast food wasn't always about racing through a drive-thru or chasing quick deals. Long before that, some legendary spots were already flipping burgers and pouring shakes for hungry crowds, creating memories that last a lifetime. These 20 classic chains helped invent the way America eats on the move, and many are still serving up those cherished flavors today. Ready for a bite of history? Let's take a look at the originals, like revisiting old friends. Nathan's Famous, 1916. Let's start our journey back in time, to a place many of you might remember, the birthplace of modern American fast food, the sunny, salty air of Coney Island, New York. Back in 1916, a Polish immigrant named Nathan Handwerker opened a hot dog stand right there. Now, German-style hot dogs were already pretty popular in New York, thanks to German immigrants bringing their Frankfurter recipes to the States. And Charles Feltman, another German immigrant, was doing quite well with his own hot dog stand on Coney Island. Nathan Handwerker actually used to work for Feltman, but eventually he decided to set up his own competing hot dog stand right next door on Coney Island. He called it Nathan's Famous. To go head-to-head with his old boss, Nathan sold his hot dogs for just 5 cents, which was half the price of Feltman's. The thing was, that low price made some folks wonder about the quality. To build trust and prove his 100% beef hot dogs were top-notch, Nathan got really creative with his marketing. He held a hot dog eating contest on the 4th of July, right there in his very first year. Plus, he even hired actors dressed up in nice clothes to stand in front of his stand and eat his hot dogs. That strategy worked like a charm, convincing passers-by that Nathan's Famous must be famous for a good reason. His wife's secret spice recipe played a big part in building that reputation, too. By the 1950s, Nathan's Famous had become a chain. And that hot dog eating contest at the original stand, it's still a yearly tradition on the 4th of July. Nathan's Famous isn't just where a brand started, it's really where an industry began, showing everyone that a little innovation, smart marketing, and a really tasty product could create a legend that lasts for over a century. A&W, 1919. Continuing our trip, let's move on to a name that's even older than sliced bread. Back in 1919, before anyone even used the term fast food, Roy W. Allen set up a root beer stand in Lodi, California. That day was special. A welcome home celebration for World War I veterans, the perfect occasion for a refreshing drink. That event marked the birth of something that would later become a fast food empire. In 1922, Allen teamed up with Frank Wright. They combined their initials to name the company, A&W. A&W quickly became famous for those frosty, ice-cold mugs of root beer. What's really interesting is that A&W was one of the very first companies to use the franchise model. They started franchising back in 1926, paving the way for a system that proved successful and expanded internationally. By the 1970s, can you believe it? A&W actually had more locations than McDonald's. A&W also pioneered the very first drive-in service in California back in 1923. Their root beer is still what they're most famous for, and many folks consider it the best root beer out there. A&W root beer still uses that original secret blend of herbs, bark, spices, and berries. And those iconic frosty mugs? They weren't just for serving drinks, they were some of the restaurant's first merchandise, and they're still a beloved symbol of the brand. A&W's success wasn't just about the root beer, though. They built their menu around classic American favorites like burgers, hot dogs, and fries. Introducing the Papa Burger line in the 1960s created a memorable brand that really appealed to families. A&W has shown incredible resilience, not just surviving the Great Depression and even COVID, but thriving. They're always looking for ways to innovate, embracing technology like self-serve kiosks and centralized POS systems to make the customer experience even better. A&W has managed to keep its core identity while adapting to markets around the world. tweaking the menu for local tastes, like serving fried chicken with rice in Indonesia. Being willing to adjust while still keeping a focused menu and brand identity has helped A&W stay relevant for generations. White Castle, 1921. Now let's make our way east to Wichita, Kansas, the unlikely hometown of a burger revolution. Back in 1921, this is where White Castle was born, thanks to the vision of Billy Ingram and Walter Anderson. While burgers weren't new, Anderson, a cook with a knack for innovation, dreamed of making them faster, better, and more consistent. Teaming up with Ingram, a sharp businessman, they opened the first White Castle and introduced the world to the slider, that iconic little square hamburger we all know today. White Castle wasn't just about the food, it was about changing perceptions. After the horrors revealed in Upton Sinclair's The Jungle, Americans were wary of ground beef. The founders tackled this head-on, building sparkling white restaurants with stainless steel and porcelain exteriors that radiated cleanliness and trust. The kitchens were open to view, so anyone could watch their burgers being made, and every worker wore crisp white uniforms, driving the message home. But innovation didn't stop at the decor. White Castle streamlined burger production by pioneering the assembly line kitchen, shaping the entire future of fast food. Their square patties, with 5 holes for quicker cooking, meant hot, tasty sliders were ready in moments. Selling them for just a nickel made White Castle a go-to spot for working families. Unlike many competitors, White Castle refused to franchise at first, keeping tight control over every detail, a move that helped them ride out tough times and set the gold standard for consistency. Today, White Castle remains a family-run company, beloved across the Midwest and beyond. Kewpie Hamburgers, 1923. From the heartland of America, we head to Flint, Michigan, where another early hamburger chain got its start. Founded in 1923, Kewpie Hamburgers holds the title of the second oldest hamburger company in the United States. Kewpie got its name from the popular Kewpie doll, and right from the beginning, Kewpie made significant contributions to the fast food industry. They were among the very first to offer curbside service. Think of curbside service as an early version of the modern drive-thru, where staff would bring your food right out to your car. While today there are only a handful of Kewpie locations left, mainly centered around Ohio, the chain's influence on fast food's evolution is undeniable. They helped popularize the idea of serving customers right in their vehicles, a convenience that would later become a cornerstone of the industry. White Tower, 1926. Just a few years after White Castle, a similarly named chain popped up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. White Tower was founded in 1926 by John and Thomas Sachs. This chain pretty clearly copied the White Castle model, right down to the white building architecture that looked like a little fortress. At its peak in the 1950s, White Tower had over 230 locations across the country. They offered affordable hamburgers and coffee, just like White Castle's strategy. White Tower's existence and growth show just how strong an influence the White Castle model had in the early days of fast food. While White Tower isn't around today, it's a prime example of the competition and copycatting that happened in the industry's early years as businesses tried to replicate winning formulas. What memories do these classic fast food chains bring back for you? Maybe a first job, a family road trip, or just hanging out with friends. Share your thoughts and tell us which one was your favorite in the comments below. KFC, 1930. Now let's rewind to the tough days of the 1930s, a time when the Great Depression left most Americans scrambling to get by. In the small town of Corbin, Kentucky, a man named Harland Sanders was just trying to make a living. Sanders had worked all sorts of jobs before landing at a Shell gas station, where he did something unusual. He set up a tiny dining area in the back and started cooking for travelers passing through. Folks soon discovered his Southern-style meals, but what really put him on the map was his incredible fried chicken, flavored with a secret blend of 11 herbs and spices. Sanders wasn't content to just serve good chicken. He wanted it to be great and fast. So he tinkered with pressure cookers, inventing a new way to fry chicken quickly without losing that home-cooked flavor. By the mid-1930s, his chicken was so beloved that he was dubbed Colonel Sanders, an image he soon leaned into, dressing in a white suit and black string tie. When a new highway threatened his business, Sanders hit the road himself, selling his recipe to restaurants all over America. By the 1960s, Kentucky Fried Chicken had become a true fast food legend, with Sanders's face and finger-licking good catchphrase recognized around the world. Today, KFC serves millions in more than 100 countries. But it all started with one man's drive, a secret recipe, and a dream on a dusty Kentucky roadside. Dee's Drive-In, 1932. Alongside Crystal in 1932, another drive-in chain emerged in Salt Lake City, Utah. D. Frederick Anderson opened the first Dee's restaurant in 1932. Inspired by drive-in restaurants in California, he launched Dee's Drive-In in 1954. Dee's Drive-In was known for its car hops and even had a clown mascot. At its peak, Dee's had 53 locations and became a cultural landmark in Utah. Eventually, the chain was sold to Hardee's. While Dee's Drive-In no longer exists independently, it was an important part of the history of drive-in service and the evolution of restaurants focused on the in-car customer experience. Crystal, 1932. In the same year, 1932, another chain popped up in Chattanooga, Tennessee, right in the middle of the Great Depression. Crystal was founded by Rhodey Davenport Jr. and J. Glenn Sherrill. Like White Castle, Crystal also offered those small, square hamburgers, sliders. This chain put a big emphasis on cleanliness and affordability. Because of this, Crystal quickly became a Southern favorite. Crystal is an example of how a successful business model, like White Castle's, could be replicated in other parts of the country, meeting the customer demand for a quick, clean, and economical meal. Crystal is still operating today, continuing to serve its signature sliders to customers across the South. Dairy Queen, 1940. Moving into the 1940s, we come to a chain famous for its sweet treats. On June 22, 1940, Sherb Noble opened the very first Dairy Queen store in Joliet, Illinois. This spot had a special location, right along the legendary Route 66. Dairy Queen brought soft-serve ice cream to the masses. The soft-serve formula itself was developed in 1938 by John Fremont and Bradley McCullough. DQ quickly became the go-to place for dessert. Within its first decade, Dairy Queen expanded through franchising. The iconic DQ cone curl became as legendary as the soft, smooth texture of the ice cream itself. Over time, DQ's menu grew to include hot food items too, but those soft-serve desserts remained the chain's hallmark. The Blizzard, in particular, launched in 1985, became a sensation, selling 75 million in its first year alone. Dairy Queen was one of the first restaurant chains to be franchised. What's unique is that the first location wasn't in a big city like most other chains, but in Joliet, Illinois. Dairy Queen adapted by adding drive-thrus in the 1980s. DQ's story shows the lasting appeal of a unique product and the ability to expand from a single spot to a popular chain, even when you don't start in a major urban center. McDonald's, 1940. Let's talk about a name just about everyone recognizes, McDonald's. But did you know that the Golden Arches story actually began way before Ray Kroc came on the scene? The real origins go back to 1940, when brothers Richard and Maurice McDonald opened a little place called McDonald's BBQ in San Bernardino, California. At first, it was your typical drive-in, big menu, car hops on roller skates, and lots of noise. But the McDonald brothers weren't satisfied with typical. In 1948, they shut the doors for a complete overhaul, stripping the menu down to just burgers, fries, and shakes. They introduced a radical, speedy service system. a kind of assembly line for food, serving up meals fast and cheap. Burgers were only 15 cents. This streamlined approach was so efficient that it caught the eye of Ray Kroc, a milkshake machine salesman who saw huge potential. Kroc jumped in, opened his own McDonald's in Illinois in 1955, and eventually bought out the brothers. His vision was huge. He wanted thousands of restaurants, and soon, those iconic golden arches popped up around the world. Today, McDonald's is everywhere, serving billions and always reinventing itself with menu innovations and new technology. Beyond the food, McDonald's has made a real mark through charities and community work, becoming not just a fast food giant, but a global cultural symbol. Thank you for watching. To continue with more content, comment yes to let us know you're still following. Carl's Jr., 1941. Back to California, we visit Carl's Jr., a chain that grew from a hot dog cart. In 1941, Carl Karcher started his business with a hot dog cart in Los Angeles. He later expanded to a full-service restaurant and launched Carl's Jr. in 1956. Carl's Jr. quickly became popular throughout the West Coast for its signature charbroiled burgers. This charbroiling technique created a unique flavor that set Carl's Jr. apart from its competitors. Today, Carl's Jr. operates under the umbrella of CKE Restaurants, which also owns the Hardee's chain. While it doesn't have the global scale of McDonald's or KFC, Carl's Jr. has built a loyal customer base and maintained its position in the market, particularly on the West Coast. Chick-fil-A, 1946. From the West Coast, let's fly southeast to Hapeville, Georgia. There, in 1946, what started as the Dwarf Grill eventually grew into Chick-fil-A. Founded by Truett Cathy, the Dwarf Grill was a small restaurant initially. Truett Cathy started serving fried chicken at the Dwarf Grill in 1946. He initially sold burgers and other classic diner food. However, his restaurant eventually became especially known for its chicken sandwiches. Truett. Cathy is credited with inventing the boneless chicken sandwich. He worked tirelessly to improve his creation for 20 years, perfecting it based on customer feedback. In 1967, Cathy opened the first official restaurant named Chick-fil-A in a mall in Atlanta. His chicken sandwiches, already a local favorite, became even more widely known. Chick-fil-A has built a dedicated following thanks to its signature chicken sandwiches and outstanding customer service. While the chain is very selective about opening new franchised locations, Chick-fil-A has gradually expanded nationwide, with locations in 48 states, Washington, D.C., and Puerto Rico, and has even grown internationally with locations in Canada. Today, Chick-fil-A is ranked as the third largest restaurant chain in the United States, with over 3,200 locations. Chick-fil-A's success is attributed to its focus on a high-quality core product, exceptional customer service, and its company values. In-N-Out Burger, 1948. Returning to California once more, we'll explore another West Coast icon, In-N-Out Burger. Harry and Esther Snyder opened the first In-N-Out Burger stand in Baldwin Park, California, in 1948. This was California's very first drive-through hamburger stand. Harry Snyder actually invented the two-way intercom system, allowing customers to order from their cars without leaving. This was a major step forward in the development of drive-through service. In-N-Out Burger is famous for its emphasis on fresh ingredients and a simple menu. From the beginning, they focused on a limited menu, and that menu has hardly changed since. However, for those in the know, there's a not-so-secret menu posted on their website, adding a little flair for those looking to venture beyond the classic options. Thanks to their consistent, high-quality product, they have a huge, loyal customer base today. While the chain's reputation has spread far and wide, the restaurant locations remain primarily focused in the western United States. What a Burger, 1950. From California, we head to Texas, home to another iconic burger chain. On August 8, 1950, Harmon Dobson opened the first Whataburger in Corpus Christi, Texas. His goal was simple: to serve a burger so big it took 2 hands to hold, and so good that customers would exclaim, "What a burger!" And so, the name Whataburger was born. In an era where fast food competitors were cutting out custom orders to maximize efficiency, Whataburger instead prioritized each customer. From the start, all burgers were made to order, a philosophy they still hold today. Within just the first decade of business, Whataburger became a chain. In 1961, Dobson came up with the distinctive orange A-frame building design, easily recognizable from miles away. Whataburger is open 24 hours a day and has a fierce fan base in its home state of Texas. Today, locations have spread to several states, though Whataburger is most popular in the southern and southwestern U.S. Jack in the Box, 1951. Returning to California, specifically San Diego, where another chain revolutionized drive-through service. Robert O. Peterson introduced Jack in the Box in 1951. However, Peterson's story in the restaurant business started much earlier. He was another milkshake machine salesman, much like Ray Kroc, who transitioned into the fast food industry in the mid-20th century. He had been operating a drive-in restaurant in San Diego since 1941 under the name Topsy's Drive-In. After serving in the U.S. Navy during World War II, he renamed it Oscar's. It was under this second name that he perfected the art of drive-through service. Peterson's restaurant chain got another makeover in 1951, officially becoming Jack in the Box. Jack in the Box was one of the first fast food chains to use an intercom system for drive-through orders, revolutionizing service speed. This system involved two-way radio communication and a separate pickup window. While drive-through customers today no longer order directly from a clown figure speaking through a hidden speaker, they benefit from ordering from a diverse menu. Church's Chicken, 1952. Founded by George W. Church Sr. in San Antonio, Texas, Church's Chicken started as a small takeout fried chicken store in 1952. In the 1970s and 80s, Church's Chicken made inroads into KFC's market share with indoor seating service and its crispy chicken product. This prompted KFC to introduce its extra crispy chicken product in 1972 to compete. Today, Church's Chicken has grown globally, operating over 1,400 locations in 22 countries. Customers choose Church's Chicken for its signature crispy fried chicken and honey butter biscuits. Despite being smaller than KFC, Church's Chicken has successfully built a strong chicken brand and maintained a significant presence in the international market. Sonic Drive-In, 1953. From Texas, we go to Shawnee, Oklahoma, the birthplace of a unique drive-in chain. Sonic, originally named Top Hat Drive-In, was founded by Troy Smith in 1953. Troy Smith had been in the restaurant business in Oklahoma since 1948. His best-selling operation among his restaurants was actually a simple root beer drive-in stand. Smith upgraded this drive-in stand in 1953 and named it Top Hat. 3 years later, when businessman Charlie Pape visited the Top Hat Drive-In, he was so impressed he wanted to get into the business. Pape and Smith partnered up, expanding the Top Hat restaurant to more locations. However, they ran into an issue. The name Top Hat was already copyrighted. The solution was simple. They quickly renamed it to emphasize their speed of service. The restaurant became Sonic. This fast food chain introduced the innovative concept of car hops on roller skates, delivering food right to customers' cars and enhancing the drive-in experience. Today, Sonic is one of the few fast food chains that still maintains a true drive-in experience with car hops serving customers right at their vehicles. With roots as a root beer stand, Sonic's reputation today is still tied more closely to its drinks than its food. Sonic offers a huge number of drink combinations, anywhere from 168,000 to 688,000, depending on how you count. Sonic is present in most U.S. states. Sonic is an example of a chain that found success through a unique service model and focusing on a product category, drinks, alongside its main menu. Burger King, 1954. Now, let's jump to sunny Florida in the mid-1950s, where another fast food heavyweight was about to make its mark, Burger King. It all started in 1953, originally as Insta-Burger King in Jacksonville. The founders, James McLemore and David Edgerton, saw the potential for something bigger. When they took over, they didn't just stick with the status quo, they got creative, refining the way burgers were cooked and putting their own twist on fast food. What really set Burger King apart came in 1957 with the debut of the Whopper. This wasn't just any burger, it was big, flame-grilled, and instantly became the brand's signature item. At 37 cents, the Whopper was pricier than the competition, but folks loved its bold, smoky flavor and extra toppings. The slogan, "Have it your way," wasn't just catchy, it invited customers to customize their meals, making Burger King the go-to spot for people who didn't want to settle for one-size-fits-all. Throughout the decades, Burger King has always gone head-to-head with McDonald's, challenging its rival with daring ad campaigns and unique menu experiments, like the plant-based Impossible Whopper. Whether it's classic flame-grilled burgers or menu innovations aimed at health-conscious eaters, Burger King has thrived by giving people choice and never shying away from bold moves. Today, Burger King continues to serve up its iconic Whopper at thousands of locations across the globe, proving that there's always room for a little fire in the fast food world. Pizza Hut, 1958. Pizza Hut was founded in 1958 by brothers Frank and Dan Carney. It's notable as the very first pizza chain in the United States. Italian immigrants brought pizza to America in the late 19th century, but the concept didn't truly take off until after World War II, largely thanks to American soldiers returning home who had acquired a taste for pizza while abroad. Although pizza isn't typically as fast as burgers, the Carney brothers capitalized on the rising pizza trend to turn it into a fast food phenomenon. The original restaurant was pretty small, with only 25 seats. When making their sign, they only had room for 9 letters. Because of the building's small size, they decided to call it Pizza Hut. What started in 1958 as a small family-owned and operated pizza shop near Wichita University quickly spread into a global chain operating in over 100 countries. While the original restaurant centered around the dine-in experience, Pizza Hut has evolved into primarily a takeout and delivery fast food service. Little Caesars, 1959. Another pizza chain emerged in the late 1950s, Little Caesars. In 1959, Mike and Marian Eilich put their life savings into opening a pizza shop in Garden City, Michigan, near Detroit. The first restaurant was originally called Pizza Treat. However, Marian convinced Mike to rename it something more fun. Little Caesar was a nickname she had for him. Inspired by Mike's Macedonian heritage, a former minor league baseball player with a love for pizza. Although it was one of many pizza chains opening in the 1950s, Little Caesars carved out its niche early on by only serving pizza to go. Rapidly expanding throughout Michigan in its first decade, Little Caesars later grew into an international franchise system and became the third largest pizza chain in the world. Little Caesars became famous for its affordable promotions like Pizza, Pizza, where customers got 2 pizzas for the price of 1, and more recently, the hot and ready item, pizzas ready for immediate pickup. Wendy's, 1969. Rounding out our list is a fast food favorite that made its debut a little later than the other giants, Wendy's. Founded in 1969 in Columbus, Ohio, by Dave Thomas, Wendy's got its name from Dave's own daughter, a personal touch that set the tone for the brand's family feel. From day one, Wendy's wanted to stand out. Remember those square hamburgers? They weren't just a gimmick. They were bigger than the bun and sent a clear message. Wendy's didn't cut corners, literally or figuratively. Even more impressive, they made a promise that still stands today, using fresh, never frozen beef and building each burger to order. Wendy's was an early innovator too. In the 1970s, they pioneered the modern drive-thru, introducing a two-window system that made ordering and pickup fast and easy, an industry standard ever since. Unique menu choices like baked potatoes, a fresh salad bar, and the famous frosty dessert, a cross between a milkshake and soft serve, helped Wendy's become the premium choice for fast food. Wendy's also made waves with clever marketing. Remember the iconic "Where's the beef" ads in the 1980s? After Dave Thomas became the beloved face of the company in hundreds of commercials, Wendy's kept things fresh by developing a witty, playful voice on social media. Even through challenges, from changing times to a global pandemic, Wendy's has continued to innovate with digital ordering, delivery, and new menu items like their popular breakfast. It just goes to show, even when you join the game late, you can still win hearts by staying true to quality and never being afraid to try something new. 20 worst restaurants from the 1970s that faded into history. Welcome back to Who Remembers? Today, we're traveling back to the flavorful world of the 1970s, a time of bold colors, family road trips, and unforgettable meals. In this video, we'll explore iconic restaurants from the 70s that once filled our plates and hearts, but have since vanished. Chi-Chi's. First up on our list is a restaurant that introduced bold, exotic Tex-Mex flavors to mainstream America, Chi-Chi's. Founded in Minneapolis, Chi-Chi's quickly became a household name in the Tex-Mex scene thanks to its lively decor and festive atmosphere. By the late 1970s, Chi-Chi's had expanded rapidly, opening over 200 locations across the country and popularizing dishes that would become Tex-Mex staples. Who could forget their signature crispy nachos smothered in melted cheese, jalapenos, and every topping under the sun? Or the legendary chimichangas that seemed to define the menu? Chi-Chi's wasn't just about food, it created a full-on experience. Diners sipped margaritas under colorful lights, surrounded by upbeat music and generous portions. The family-style meals made it the perfect spot for birthdays, gatherings, and Friday night dinners. At first, Chi-Chi's was a smash hit, but the seeds of its downfall were planted before the decade was out. While their take on Mexican cuisine felt new and exciting at first, it remained firmly in the realm of Americanized Tex-Mex. Heavy on fried foods, refried beans, and cheese-drenched entrees. As the late 70s ushered in a wave of authentic regional Mexican restaurants and an increased availability of fresh produce in grocery stores, Chi-Chi's began to fall behind. The brand didn't adapt to emerging trends that prioritized fresh, healthy, and more varied ingredients. Then came the fatal blow. In 2003, a hepatitis A outbreak struck a Pennsylvania Chi-Chi's location. The source? Contaminated green onions. Over 600 people were infected, and 4 tragically died. The lawsuits that followed were devastating, and the damage to Chi-Chi's reputation was irreversible. From a booming chain offering a taste of something new to a tragic story of food safety gone wrong, Chi-Chi's faded from the American dining scene. After the outbreak, no one wanted to take the risk again. The party was officially over. Burger Chef. Back to the world of fast food now, and we have Burger Chef, a true pioneer of the industry. Founded in 1954, Burger Chef quickly grew into one of the largest restaurant chains in the U.S. during the 1970s. At its peak, it had more than 1,200 locations, second only to McDonald's. Burger Chef was known for innovation. They introduced flame-broiled burgers, and their signature Works Bar allowed customers to customize their meals with toppings of their choice, a do-it-yourself concept that felt fresh and exciting. They were also one of the first chains to offer a combo meal, and they helped popularize the idea of the salad bar. Their Super Chef burger, a hearty competitor to McDonald's Big Mac, became a fan favorite. The menu also included milkshakes, fried chicken, and fish sandwiches, making Burger Chef a true one-stop shop. Rapid expansion helped the chain become a household name, but things started to unravel after General Foods acquired it in 1968. The new ownership failed to manage the brand effectively, leading to inconsistent food quality and confusing marketing. As competition from fast food giants like McDonald's and Burger King intensified, Burger Chef began to lose ground. By the late 1970s, sales were on the decline. In 1982, General Foods sold off the remaining locations to Hardee's, and over the following years, the name Burger Chef gradually disappeared. By 1996, every last location had been converted or closed. The chain was officially gone. Bennigan's. When it comes to casual dining, Bennigan's was one of the first chains to truly define the category in the United States. Founded in 1976 by Norman Brinker, Bennigan's quickly became a go-to destination for middle-class families and young professionals alike. With the energy of a lively pub, affordable prices, and signature drinks, Bennigan's carved out a unique niche. It was the kind of place you'd hit up after work or on the weekends, a relaxed setting that blended the comfort of dining out with the fun of a night out. The chain's suburban locations, often near shopping centers, made it easily accessible. At its peak, Bennigan's was the kind of restaurant where hardworking parents would take the whole family for a special treat. For many, it wasn't just a meal, it was a memory. Some fans even considered Bennigan's a better choice than rivals like Chili's, TGI Fridays, Applebee's, Red Robin, or Ruby Tuesday. It had the perfect mix of upbeat atmosphere, generous portions, and what some swear were the best chicken tenders in the world. Today, about 15 Bennigan's locations still operate in the U.S., but most fans agree they don't quite capture the same spirit that made the brand shine back in the 70s and 80s. Do you have any family memories tied to one of these restaurants? Birthdays, road trips, or late-night stops? Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips. Here's another uniquely themed chain, Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips. Named after the British actor Arthur Treacher, the restaurant was founded in 1969 with a mission to bring crisp, golden fried fish to American diners. By the mid-1970s, Arthur Treacher's had exploded across the U.S., with over 800 locations nationwide. In a burger-dominated world, they offered something different: seafood. Their signature dish? Atlantic cod, perfectly battered and fried to a crispy golden brown. Thick-cut, hand-prepared fries made the ideal sidekick. And who could forget the hush puppies? Those sweet, savory fried dough balls were the perfect complement to a fish and chips basket. For anyone looking to break out of the burger rut, Arthur Treacher's was a welcome alternative. But change was coming fast. As American consumers grew more health-conscious, deep-fried foods began to fall out of favor. Supply issues also forced the chain to swap out cod for cheaper, less flavorful fish, a switch customers noticed. Competitors began offering grilled fish, shrimp, and other lighter fare. Franchisees grumbled about rising royalty fees and decreasing corporate support. The restaurant interiors felt outdated, and marketing failed to connect with a younger generation. As economic pressures mounted and the fast food landscape grew crowded, Arthur Treacher's began to decline sharply by the late 1970s. Most locations closed during the 1980s. Though a handful still survive today, the brand's fall is a reminder of just how fast food trends and fortunes can change. Geno's Hamburgers. Gino Marchetti, a legendary NFL Hall of Famer, decided to take a swing at the restaurant world with Geno's Hamburgers, founded in 1957. The chain quickly gained a loyal following for its hearty burgers, especially the Gino Giant, which many compared to McDonald's Big Mac but praised for its distinct flavor. What set Geno's apart was its early partnership with KFC, making it one of the first fast food chains to offer both burgers and fried chicken under the same roof. That made it a one-stop shop for hungry families, especially across the Mid-Atlantic, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, where Geno's became a local favorite. Thanks to Marchetti's sports fame, the restaurants became popular hangouts for fans and families alike. But as competition intensified in the late 1970s, Geno's began to feel the heat. In an attempt to keep pace, the chain expanded too quickly. That led to quality control issues and a gradual erosion of the brand's reputation. By the early 1980s, customer traffic was slowing. In 1982, Marriott Corporation stepped in and acquired Geno's. Most of the locations were converted into Roy Rogers restaurants, and just like that, Geno's, once a rising star, vanished from the American fast food map. Sambo's. One of the most controversial chains on this list is Sambo's. Founded in 1957, the restaurant quickly gained popularity for its affordable, family-style dining and expansive breakfast menu, especially its pancakes. At first glance, it was just another friendly American diner. The name Sambo's came from combining the names of its founders, but it also evoked the children's book, The Story of Little Black Sambo, which influenced the restaurant's branding and decor. As cultural awareness grew, that association became a major point of controversy. During the 1960s and 70s, Sambo's saw massive success, expanding to over 1,100 locations nationwide. It was beloved for its all-day breakfast and casual vibe. But by the late 1970s, public backlash intensified. Critics condemned the name and imagery as racially insensitive. What had once seemed playful was now seen by many as offensive. Though the company tried to rebrand and distance itself from the book's legacy, the damage was done. On top of that, the rapid expansion had put serious financial strain on the business. By the early 1980s, Sambo's was struggling to stay afloat. In 1982, the company filed for bankruptcy, and most of its locations were closed or sold off. Shoney's Big Boy. If you grew up anywhere near a Shoney's Big Boy, chances are it felt like an extension of your own kitchen, only with better pancakes. Born in the late 1940s, Shoney's paired its now iconic Big Boy mascot with a towering double-decker burger and a warm, family-friendly vibe. It wasn't just a restaurant. It was part of the routine. A birthday, a graduation, or just a lazy Sunday morning, Shoney's had you covered. Their signature Big Boy burger came stacked and juicy, layered with lettuce, tomato, and that unforgettable special sauce. But let's be honest, it was the breakfast that stole the show. Those golden hash browns? That was comfort food, done right. Add in fluffy omelets, bacon, and pancakes that soaked up syrup like a sponge, and you had yourself a feast any time of day. Families loved it because you could load up your plate without emptying your wallet. The all-you-can-eat salad bar? A bonus. Sadly, Shoney's began to fade as tastes changed and competition stiffened. While Bob's Big Boy still stands out in California, it's just not the same. If you miss the old Shoney's, you're not alone. It was the definition of feel-good food. Thank you for watching. To continue with more content, comment yes to let us know you're still following. Wags. Next on the list is Wags, an ambitious attempt by Wendy's to break into the casual dining market in the late 1970s. Designed as more than just a fast food spot, Wags aimed to create a relaxed, family-friendly atmosphere where people could enjoy a sit-down meal without the formality of fine dining. The menu was classic American comfort food. Think burgers, steaks, and sandwiches, served in generous portions and priced to appeal to the middle class. It hit the sweet spot for those looking for a satisfying meal without breaking the bank. But here's a twist. Wags was actually a brainchild of Walgreens, not Wendy's. Back in the 1970s, drugstores were experimenting with ways to attract customers, and launching a restaurant was one of their boldest moves. At first, it worked. Wags offered what many considered a cut above the average diner. Their roast beef sandwiches were legendary, and they served breakfast all day long, a novelty at the time. A Wags experience often meant a juicy diner-style burger with crispy fries, a creamy milkshake, or even pancakes and club sandwiches late into the night. It filled a gap that most modern fast food joints still don't. People loved Wags. But despite early popularity, trouble loomed in the 1980s. The casual dining scene started evolving fast. Newcomers like TGI Fridays and Chili's offered more vibrant menus, hipper environments, and trendier food options. Wags didn't keep up. Its straightforward approach and lack of menu innovation started to feel outdated. As customer expectations shifted, Wags began to lose its appeal. By the late 1980s, Walgreens started phasing out the brand, selling off locations, and refocusing on its core drugstore business. In 1991, they pulled the plug entirely, selling most remaining Wags sites. Victoria Station. One of the most unique dining concepts to roll out in the early 1970s was Victoria Station. Founded by 3 Harvard Business School graduates, the restaurant was themed around the charm of old train stations. Many of its locations were even constructed using actual converted railway cars. This nostalgic, immersive setting made Victoria Station more than just a place to eat. It was an experience. With a menu centered on American classics like steaks and barbecue ribs, it quickly became a favorite among middle-class families and travelers looking for hearty meals in a fun-themed environment. By the mid-1970s, Victoria Station was booming. The chain expanded rapidly to over 100 locations across the United States and even internationally. Its railway-themed decor and crowd-pleasing menu helped build a loyal customer base. But behind the scenes, trouble was brewing. As the decade came to a close, rising food and operating costs began eating into profits. Victoria Station struggled to maintain the high quality that had made it famous. Meanwhile, customer expectations were shifting. Sleeker, more modern competitors emerged, and Victoria Station failed to update its menu or decor to keep up. By the early 1980s, financial problems hit hard. Poor management decisions and aggressive overexpansion led to a significant drop in revenue. Despite attempts to revitalize the brand with updated interiors and new menu items, the magic had faded. In 1986, the company filed for bankruptcy. By the end of the decade, most locations had closed for good. By the early 1990s, Victoria Station had all but disappeared from the American dining landscape. Stuckey's. Another icon of the American road trip? That would be Stuckey's. It all began as a modest roadside pecan stand in Georgia during the 1930s. But by the 1970s, Stuckey's had transformed into a nationwide symbol of family travel, with over 350 locations dotted along highways from coast to coast. If you were cruising down a major U.S. highway back then, chances are you couldn't miss a Stuckey's stop. It was the go-to spot to fill up your tank, grab a bite, and buy souvenirs you'd probably question later. But that was part of the charm. What made Stuckey's special was its warm, family-friendly vibe. The food wasn't five-star dining, but it was dependable. You could always count on a hot dog, a juicy burger, or a plate of Southern-style comfort food to keep you going. The real stars of the show, though, were the snacks, especially their famous pecan log rolls, pecan pralines, and an assortment of nut candies. Stuckey's carved out a unique space by blending roadside convenience with fast food service and a distinct southern flair. Those teal-blue roofs became beacons for road-weary travelers looking for a quick break and a sweet treat. But as larger corporate travel centers and national chains began to dominate the highways, Stuckey's struggled to compete. Changing travel habits and evolving dining preferences left the brand behind. They couldn't adapt quickly enough, and gradually, Stuckey's began to vanish from the map. Wimpy's. Let's talk about Wimpy's. Originally founded in Chicago in the 1930s, the chain didn't hit its stride until the 1950s through the 1970s, when it briefly carved out a place in the American burger scene. Wimpy's tried to elevate the fast food experience. Unlike most burger joints, they served their meals on real plates, with actual silverware. It was one of the few places where you could sit down and eat a quarter-pounder style burger with a knife and fork. They developed a loyal following, especially for that burger and their quirky bender in a bun, a sausage sandwich that had its own cult fan base. But part of fast food's appeal is the speed and the freedom to eat with your hands. Wimpy's upscale touches may have been charming, but they also set it apart in a way that didn't always work in its favor. The biggest issue, however, was consistency. Locations varied in quality and experience, and Wimpy's couldn't keep up with the rapidly evolving fast food industry. By the end of the 1970s, most Wimpy's locations in the U.S. had shut down. Though the name lives on in other countries, in America, it's just another fond memory from a bygone burger era. Lums. Lums started out modestly in the early 1950s as a humble hot dog stand on Miami Beach. But by the 1970s, it had grown into a national chain with a quirky, unmistakable style that set it apart from other fast food joints. One of Lum's biggest claims to fame? It served beer alongside your meal, something few fast food places dared to do. The menu was a bit of a grab bag: burgers, sandwiches, and of course, their legendary hot dogs steamed in beer-battered buns. Those beer-steamed buns made every bite feel a little more upscale. And let's not forget the Lum's Special, a hot dog piled high with toppings, wrapped in that iconic soft bun. It was simple, satisfying, and just different enough to keep people coming back. The vibe inside Lum's was unique too. With dark wood interiors, corner bars, and a cozy pub-like atmosphere, it felt more like a neighborhood tavern than a traditional fast food place. It wasn't exactly kid-friendly, but it found a loyal audience nonetheless. Still, the novelty eventually wore off. As the 1980s approached and competition grew, Lum's struggled to evolve. Its once distinct offerings no longer stood out, and the brand slowly faded away, with most locations gone by the mid-80s. The Brown Derby. One of the most iconic restaurants in Hollywood history was the Brown Derby. Established in 1929, this was the place to see and be seen in Tinseltown. Its most famous location, shaped like an actual derby hat, sat proudly on Wilshire Boulevard and became a magnet for movie stars, producers, and anyone looking to rub elbows with the Hollywood elite. By the 1970s, the Brown Derby had expanded to several locations, including one inside Walt Disney World. Despite the growth, the chain always held on to its sense of glamour. The menu was elegant, with standout dishes like the legendary Cobb salad, invented by the restaurant's owner, Bob Cobb. Other offerings included roast prime rib, fried chicken, and a lineup of classic American entrees. What truly set the Brown Derby apart was its ambiance. The walls were covered with caricatures of the famous guests who dined there, actors, directors, and stars from every corner of the entertainment world. But even with its legacy and charm, the Brown Derby couldn't escape the changing tides of business. By the late 20th century, financial troubles caught up with it, and despite its golden past, the iconic restaurant chain filed for bankruptcy and faded from the spotlight. Beefsteak Charlie's. What about Beefsteak Charlie's? This legendary chain dates all the way back to the early 1900s, but it truly became a New York City icon in the 1970s. Their mission was simple: serve up affordable steak dinners. But what made Beefsteak Charlie's stand out was the sheer abundance. We're talking all-you-can-eat steak, endless shrimp cocktails, and a salad bar overflowing with pasta salads, coleslaw, and fresh fixings. It wasn't just a meal, it was a buffet experience with a splash of indulgence. And let's not forget the unlimited beer and wine, which gave the whole experience an upscale touch at a working-class price. By the late 70s, Beefsteak Charlie's had evolved into a full-blown chain, expanding rapidly across the East Coast. It was the kind of place where every night felt like a celebration. But the magic didn't last. By the mid-1980s, rising operating costs and the massive volume of food given away began eating into profits. The very thing that made the brand special became unsustainable. Worse yet, as the 80s drew to a close, quality control slipped. Longtime customers noticed the food just wasn't what it used to be, and they stopped coming. By the early 1990s, Beefsteak Charlie's had started to fade away, joining the ranks of once great New York eateries lost to time. Do you remember what your favorite dish was at any of these places? Sandy's. Let's turn our attention to Sandy's, a fast food chain launched in 1958 as a direct competitor to McDonald's. What made Sandy's stand out early on was its charming Scottish heritage theme, complete with a bagpiper mascot and catchy slogans. It was a whimsical touch that drew in families and kids alike. During the 1960s, Sandy's expanded quickly, setting up shop in multiple states. Their calling card? A no-frills 20-cent hamburger that offered great value. They were also known for thick, creamy milkshakes that kept customers coming back. But the 1970s brought fierce competition in the fast food world. Giants like McDonald's and Burger King began to dominate, and Sandy's struggled to keep pace. They tried to modernize, eventually dropping the Scottish theme. But it was too little, too late. The chain began to lose its identity, and as customer loyalty shifted toward bigger brands, Sandy's became vulnerable. In 1973, Hardee's acquired Sandy's, and by 1979, every remaining location had been rebranded. Just like that, a once promising McDonald's rival had vanished from the American fast food scene. Minnie Pearl's fried chicken. Here's a cautionary tale about growing too quickly. Minnie Pearl's fried chicken. Launched in 1966, the chain took its name and inspiration from the beloved country comedian Minnie Pearl. The idea was to capitalize on her fame by creating a Southern-style fried chicken franchise that could go toe-to-toe with KFC. And for a while, it looked like a hit. The chain expanded at lightning speed, opening more than 300 locations across the South and Midwest in just a few years. But the rapid growth came at a cost. Despite the hype, the chain quickly developed a reputation for inconsistent food and poor service. Promoted as a premium Southern dining experience, the reality was far less appetizing. Customers complained about undercooked or unevenly prepared meals and fried chicken that lacked both crispiness and seasoning, the very heart of what it promised to deliver. The overzealous franchising led to financial instability, and poor management only made matters worse. By 1971, the company was hit with lawsuits alleging mismanagement and financial fraud. Negative press crushed public confidence and eroded customer loyalty. As locations began to close, the chain entered a freefall. By the mid-1970s, Minnie Pearl's fried chicken had all but disappeared. Though some sources suggest it lingered into the 80s, most of its collapse took place earlier, making it a textbook example of a promising brand that flew too close to the sun. Red Barn. Let's take a look at Red Barn, a chain that once aimed to reinvent fast food before becoming something of a punchline. Opening